Are you tired of being bullied by all of the big, bad, mean Tyranids and Chaos guys? Well, let me tell you something. You have the ability to fight back, even if you think you can't. Even with a little old knife. Let me tell you something about this knife. I think it's a little slept on because I don't see a lot of people running it, but the people that do know, and they know this thing is a beast. This thing has insane capabilities of parrying. I think it's mainly for that, personally. It's not so, well, much on the damage side, but it has decent potential in that regard, I will say. It's mainly a parry machine, though. It is really good. Give it a shot, people. I'm telling you. Alright, so, looking at the Vanguard himself, we got the Melta rifle with the mainly damage and magazine and ammo reserve upgrades. Feel like I always need more bullets. Bolt pistol with the damage and accuracy ones. The combat knife, I recommend the fencing one heavily if you are going for mainly a parry setup. This thing will do damage, but I recommend going for fencing as it helps with the parry windows. As far as the perks go, I have more melee damage against the Majoris level and higher enemies. Also have the moment your armor is fully depleted, you take 15% less health damage. This is just survivability at the higher levels of difficulty. It does help. It does come up. Don't overlook these kinds of things. And this one is just perfect dodge window is doubled when I have less than 50% health. It may create bad habits, but it's just survivability, honestly. More melee damage for all squad members. I could run maybe this one instead, but I run with mainly melee guys, so I keep this one for the team and myself. This one, it kind of was hard to decide which one I wanted. These three, I couldn't really decide, so I went with this one where after you do the dive kick, you take 10% less range damage, and I feel like a lot of the time the melee guys are easy to deal with. It's the range guys that are just gonna chip away at your health. So this one's good. I also have the enemies hit by diving kick take 15% more range damage. That helps with the Melta. Oh, it helps with the Melta so much. Also, I'm running, when you run the grapple cooldown, when you're on cooldown, I mean with the grapple, it, has more weapon damage. I know, I can't read, huh? Just wanted to actually say it in a different way that it's described, I guess. Anyhoodle. Performing a finisher with the grapple launcher restores its charge. This one I like a lot. I don't really know which one I would rather take over this one or this one. I don't know, this one's kind of good, but I feel like this you're going to get more mileage out of, so I recommend it. Now, like I said, if you're going for just raw damage, this is not the weapon to go for until it's fully maxed out, I imagine, but this thing does have a few other tricks up its sleeve other than just really good parries. It hits multiple times. It has some of the coolest executions for one. It does have like the endless combos where you switch between the fast and light and the really heavy stuff, but I recommend sticking into the heavy attacks where you can, trying to learn what light attacks you can mix with what, and see what works around the crowds too. I mean, that's mainly why we have the Melta, sure, but you're gonna have to fall back on the knife at some point, so it's good to know, yeah, I can do sweeps like this and so on to get through entire crowds with ease, or at least to farm the gun strike for free armor, any of that noise. I mean, you guys know how it is. Grappling into an enemy and getting them with the Melta is probably the best way to start your combos, if you have grapple, of course, but the knife will allow you to get decent damage in between Melta shots, get the good parries off, which will allow you to survive a lot longer. And if you do take health damage, your Melta is there to help you get all that great health and then some back, because it does so much damage. That's how badass this thing is, okay? This Melta, you ever seen such a beautiful weapon in a game? My god, it's just something else. Anyway, the combat knife itself does take some getting used to, okay? But if you learn it and get it down a bit, it will treat you right in the regards of good parries, decent damage, but against the Tyranids, it lacks a little bit because they're a bit more resilient. Against Chaos, though, I will show you that with the heavy attacks, that heavy stance, and all the combos and whatnot, it actually ends up stun locking a lot of the Chaos guys to the point where you are fully able to just single out that one guy with the knife and make sure he doesn't do anything. It's actually really handy. The knife itself, I mean, I think the fencing upgrade is probably the best, but, you know, there is a perk that allows you to have more parry window if you don't want the fencing upgrade, so you could always use that, but I just recommend that upgrade on the weapon itself so that you can get extra stuff out of your perks overall. It'll help you in the long run whenever you're starting to get swarmed by 6 of the sword guys and all the lictors in the world and whatnot. Just play around with it to your own discretion and see what ends up working for your setup and your loadouts. It's gonna be really dependent on the person, I will say, but I'm just here telling you that you should not sleep on the knife. It is something that will get the job done when it is in the right hands, alright? It does take that bit of learning with it to really use it to its fullest potential, I think. Which is why I think it's really good, though, truth be told. The knife is also really good at allowing you to recover from messing up mistakes and whatnot. Like, it will allow you to come back a little bit quicker than some of the other weapons, I'd say, because it's just the fastest weapon when it comes to swinging. So keep that in mind. It does matter in the higher difficulties whenever you're starting to get swarmed by everything. Oh man, there's a lot on substantial difficulty, the third one, but substantial is only going to be so hard in comparison to the last one, so keep that stuff in mind as you are raising difficulties, lowering them, whatnot, as you try the thing, if you do. It's really good against Chaos. As you can see, I'm able to stun lock a lot of these flamethrower guys. They think they know how to wield the flames, but they don't understand. Okay, they don't know the ways. But nice ideal combo right there for you, where us Vanguard guys can just, grapple on in and just rail them with the Melta into knife combos. I would say the tacticals have a higher damage output if they're scanning the enemy, of course, but more consistency from the Vanguard side of things when you have constant grapples going out, and when you use the one perk I talked about earlier, where when it's on cooldown, you get more damage out of your Melta. You're able to get into executions a lot quicker. It's gonna help you survive even more on the higher and higher difficulties and the bigger and bigger enemies you end up fighting. But anyway, that's enough about the knife. Here's a little sneak preview of the next one I'm gonna be showing you. The actual melee setup on a Vanguard with the chain sword and the Melta. It's really just showcasing more of how powerful the Melta is with the chain sword instead of with the knife, but I mentioned that a few times. Melta and knife is good for just survivability, for parries, but fencing on chainsword is also good for that. But chainsword has the damage to back that up. Trust me on it. Do not sleep on either of these.